Hello, my name is Johnny Marietti, and my Mix AV topic is the Black Arts Movement. When I first heard the term, I didn't know what it was. We of course ended up learning more about it in the semester, and I think I probably learned the whitewash version in American history growing up in the Midwest. When I started researching the Black Arts Movement and reading about its creators, I could see that it laid the foundation of a new way to politically engage, but also how we still use art nowadays to express our feelings, ideas, political agendas, and narrative of events. I realized that learning through art is what I like the most. Watching movies, listening to music, and any other form that makes learning fun. It makes me think. It is clear to see why people consider BAM as the direct influence of hip-hop and spoken words. The Black Arts Movement occurred during 1965 through 1975, and it gave people the ability to speak to their people in the people's language, to educate and open their minds to what was going on politically. To get there, let's look at what happened right before. Artists started in the Afrofuturism movement by infusing power into communities that had been traditionally powerless by using writing and other mediums such as science fiction, film, and music. Artists such as Octavia Butler and Sun Ra used imagination to make a change in the future and empower people with the tool of using their imagination. All these creative forms made it easier for people that were not used to discussing topics such as racism or genderism and how they affected society to bring them up. I see this as a way of thinking outside the box and using creativity to push different ideas.
All Negro leaders have fought for civil rights.
What do you mean
They
by
have
fought?
begged for civil rights. They have begged the white man for civil rights. They have begged the white man for freedom. And anytime you beg another man to set you free, you will never be free. Freedom is something that you have to do for yourselves. And until the American Negro lets the white man know that we are really ready and willing to pay the price that is necessary for freedom, our people will always be walking around here second-class citizens, or what you call 20th century slaves.
What price are you talking about, sir?
The price of freedom is death.
During the Civil Rights Movement, Malcolm X, who is a 20th century human rights activist, preached for black nationalism and started the idea of black power for self-reliance and self-defense. He wanted to talk about the reality of what was going on, not just science fiction of the Afrofuturism art that was out there. When Malcolm X was assassinated, that was really the start of the Black Arts Movement. Black poets, musicians, authors, and artists felt a sense of urgency to carve a space for black arts and culture during racial tension. The followers of Black Power movement then had to choose other paths. The followers basically had three choices of which way to focus. The first choice was the Black Panther Party. These were the revolutionary nationalists who basically said, "We are demanding these things and we may use force." And then the art form group, or the second choice, was the Congress of Racial Equality. And the third choice was the Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee. The last two were more of culture nationalists, which depended on art and black culture. Art forms would be used to express thoughts and feelings. The black nationalism movement that focused on music, literature, drama, and the visual arts made up of black artists and intellects. This was the cultural artistic side of the Black Power movement. The participants shared many of the ideologies of black self-determination, political beliefs, and African American culture.
America has no responsibility to tell the truth about us.
Of course not.
See, that's why we're fighting for equality, so that will be. They have no responsibility, so that we are like shocked to see that the people who work for them lie about what we did. That's naivete on their part. And that's finally what keeps me cool and not punching people in the mouth recently in the last few years. When the fact that
very close.
no close. But knowing that you are actually the one. Now, you can't put down, I can't put down Uncle Sam's Negro for doing what Uncle Sam pay him to do. You know what I'm saying? That's stupid. Well, you say, I want him to do my gig. See? No, the point is, you need to do your gig.
That's right.
And to the extent that you do your gig, you're going to neutralize Uncle Sam's Negro. And that I think, is what I've come to that realization in the last decade, that deep in politics as we were, what we forgot in me is that you are an artist. You are a writer. And the strongest political work you can do, the strongest political work you can do is in the arts.
Yes. But okay.
And I mean that in the sense that who is going to be reached
Yes.
most broadly.
And,
That's what I'm saying.
and couple with that, and I agree, continuing.
Amiri Baraka was a playwright and the founder of the Congress of People National Black Convention. He was seen as the father of the Black arts movement. He said that we shouldn't just look to European art, but look to ourselves in our own art. He founded the Black Repertory Theater and School in Harlem, New York for Black artists. The school manifesto called for poems that shoot, all written by and for Black people. He was using art as a political weapon. He thought that everything around us is art, and art is the heart and mind of people. At the time, the FBI was suspicious of the school and wondering what all the Black artists were teaching, and that it may be too radical. The FBI had agents that sat and stalked the school to make sure it wasn't teaching anything crazy. Some of the great artists that performed there were laying the foundation for modern-day art, culture, and music. Unfortunately, the school had to close soon after it opened.
Brand new school, both hot and cool, a blues beat. Bittersweet is deep, deep blue, bright red, high yellow, is loud, is proud, it's a wilder strum, a super drum, sets up its own condition, defies tradition, it shocks,
It rocks.
it mocks,
It knocks.
it's humor,
Drama.
it talks about your mama,
It's love.
it's dissension,
It's a brand new dimension.
it's many.
The good news is that culture had already taken off. Artists that came out of this movement left lasting art in their fields that paved the way for many current artists and expressive people. James Brown made music and is known as the godfather of funk. He used the power to the Black arts movement with a song of empowerment, Say It Loud, I'm Black and I'm Proud. Other prominent artists were James Baldwin, who spoke about shocking things to not only make people listen, but also to make hard questions of what will you do about this. He broke boundaries about class, sexuality, and race. He used his personal experiences as a Black, homosexual male to challenge Americans to think as Americans together like humans. No one should feel superior to anyone. Another artist was Nikki Giovanni. She organized the first Black Arts Festival in Cincinnati and wrote a book about poetry, Black feeling, Black talk. Her poetry put the racial challenges in people's faces so that they would have to deal with it and challenge people to think, why not? Why can't we be or think like this?
But in my mind's eye, there's always that kid. He's going to be here when you're gone.
Oh, yeah.
You know,
Hopefully.
and when I am long gone. And from my point of view, it is about the children. It is about the children. We have to give the children something, which in a way was after all given to us, though we had to learn how to translate it. Because your kid will be moving in a very different world than the one in which I grew up, which you won't know anything about at all, or the world in which you grew up, which will be remote for him, and yet he comes out of it and has got to carry it much further than you or I will be able to carry it.
He's got to have respect for it, but not be trapped by it.
Precisely. You have to both give it to him and liberate him from it. You know.
And I think that kind of thing has been lacking. Like, I think one of the nicest things that we created almost as a generation, and it wasn't us because Martin Delaney and those people were way before us, but just the fact that we could say, hey, I don't like white people.
It's a great liberation.
It was a beginning of course,
Yeah.
being able to like them.
Exactly.
You know,
Exactly.
which of course it upsets them, but that's their problem.
Yeah, but their problem really is a kind of, we were talking earlier before the show began about the kind of incomprehension in somebody's face, and you're trying to describe what is to you a very simple situation.
Right.
You know, like people don't like going to jail, and you see the man's face, and he looks astonished. What? People don't like going to jail, and then you pull back.
You mean so?
You know, does that really go on? And you live with this all your life. And what you watch is that he knows it really. He doesn't think that you know it. He doesn't think anybody will tell him. And if it comes in, as we were saying earlier, if he allows that to enter into his guts, he's a very different person. He may be...
By the mid-1970s, Barack became a Marxist and was excluding groups and becoming racially exclusive. Because of this, the movement died down. But just like art from ancient times, art lives on and ties us to history. Good times, bad times, it makes us think, imposes ideas, and captures time, and those artistic pieces still are relevant in teaching society today. The movement can be seen continuing its power in the 21st century. Although black artists are always creating, there has been a resurgence of black artists and scholars. Artists like Ye are still trying to use their art of music and fashion to make political statements. Movies like Black Panther are using an almost entirely black-led cast, black director, and committing to black female leads. White hip-hop artists like Eminem rap about white America, calling out race and caste. And Kendrick Lamar's song, Backseat Freestyle, raps about gang culture and police brutality. Ron Karenga said that the black arts movement must be functional and collective and committed. That meant that the work must serve a purpose larger than merely the creation of art, and in 2022, we can still see that impact.